Batman now. Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to the City Boys podcast. My name is Ethan, and I am joined by two of my best friends to talk about all 30 MLS teams. Who do we have up now? Jacob, introduce yourself and tell the fans who we're going over.
I'll tell the pans and I'll tell the fans. We are talking about Toronto FC tonight. I know my personal responsibility on this episode is beefy. So I'm just trying to wrap my mind around that mentally. How I'm going to execute this to my greatest ability. Grayson, take it away.
I'm feeling good. Hello, everybody. My name is Grayson. I'm also here. I'll be handling the predictions for today, so it'll be fun. Let's try to end off the episode on a high note at least. I mean, hell, boys, we are in our flow state at this point. We got Toronto FC, our brothers from the True North. All right, our first Canadian team on the spotlights.
Oh, Canada.
Very timely as well, given the current beef between the US and Canada. We're not a political podcast. We're here to talk about soccer. Let's get into Toronto FC. Jacob, you mentioned that it's a beefy episode, or at least your part is beefy. We're going to make it a beefy episode. Let's hear it, sir.
I will not be charging tariffs on this beef. So, everyone, this is free game I'm about to put you on. Toronto has a storied history, and honestly, I tried to condense it as much as possible, but they have had some wild stuff happen in their history that I really couldn't leave a ton out. So, for those Toronto FC fans listening in, we are about to relive your glory years. For those of you who don't know a ton about Toronto FC, I think I'm about to tell you everything there is to know. First off, they are the first Canadian-based franchise in the MLS. They joined the MLS in 2007, but they were actually awarded the expansion spot in 2005, paying a whopping $10 million expansion fee. Since
Not
then,
bad.
the expansion fee price has gone through the roof. So I would pay $10
Yeah.
million to have a team right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found it interesting. They named the club Toronto FC in 2006 after having the people of Toronto vote on the team's name. There were other possible names being voted on. They were the Toronto Northmen, Inter Toronto
Oh,
FC, or the Toronto Reds. Personally, I think the people chose perfectly well. Toronto FC
yeah.
is a great, succinct name. They do go by the Reds up there. The Toronto supporters call the boys the Reds. Um, anyways,
I like it.
they started their first season in MLS with a pretty long scoreless drought, not finding their first goal for the team until May 12th. The season starts in February. They didn't score a goal
Oh
until
my
May 12th
God.
in their first season.
Phew.
That first goal came in a 3-1 win over the Chicago Fire. We mention them almost in every single other spotlight video we do. They ended their first season in last place with a 6-17-7 record. They did
Oof.
slightly better in their second season with a 9-13-8 record. They did have a
There.
wild Canadian championship run in 2009. Going into their final match, they were down 4 goals on goal difference to the current leaders of the competition and needed a 4-goal victory over Montreal Impact to win the competition. After going down 1-0 early, they fought back and ended up winning that match 6-1 and taking home the trophy. The first trophy in
Wow.
their club's history.
That's insane. That's electric. What a comeback victory.
Yeah. Fans dubbed this match as the Miracle in Montreal, kind of stealing Miracle on Ice. Anyways, later that season, they failed to qualify for the playoffs in MLS. So the front office went out and hired a head coach who goes by the nickname Preki. Now, we know Preki because he coached STLFC. Preki has coached a lot of different teams in his tenure. But at this time, he was coaching Toronto FC. Although Preki did lead them to a 7-game undefeated record to start the season, it wasn't enough to keep his job. They did, in fact, fire Preki. With 3 matches left that season, they were eliminated from playoff contention. And at this point, because this is 2009, I'm going to take us into the 2013-2014 season because it gets really wild in this season. So they hire new GM Bezbatchenko who went on a roster spending slash selling spree that brought in the likes of Justin Morrow, Gilberto from Brasileiro. Michael Bradley was brought in that year from AS
Yeah.
Roma, as well as record transfer Jermaine Defoe from Tottenham Hotspur. They paid 6 million euros for his abilities. Defoe also became the highest paid player in MLS at the time, making $90,000 per week. In addition, that season, they signed Julio Cesar on loan from Queens Park Rangers. And with all that business, the team still failed to make the playoffs for an eighth consecutive season.
Whoa, that's brutal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's far too long without the playoffs.
And with all that new European talent too, that's painful.
After that, the team would fill their vacant head coach role with none other than Greg Vanney. Moving into the 2014 season. After just 11 months out of a 4-year contract with Toronto, Jermaine Defoe would be traded to Sunderland for young American striker Josie Altidore as Defoe's replacement. 3 days later, Toronto would go on to sign Sebastian Giovinco from Juventus and pay him an annual salary of $7 million. This
Baller.
sparked the glory years for Toronto, though. Buckle up. So in 2015, Giovinco would end up breaking Chris Wondolowski's league record of 35 points on the season with 22 goals and 16 assists. Quick math, that is 38 points. He won the Golden Boot, League MVP, and MLS Newcomer of the Year. He
Damn.
became the first player in MLS history to lead the league in both goals and assists, and for the first time in club history, they would clinch a playoff berth. Only,
Giovinco was just
He was
he
him.
ushered in amazing times, huh?
well, they clinched the playoff berth and then are immediately knocked out by their Canadian rivals, the Montreal Impact.
Ooh.
Fast forward to 2016, they secure playoffs once again. They would end up actually having an insane run to the MLS Cup final, the first Canadian team to do so, and then lost the final at home to the Seattle Sounders 5-4 on penalties after a scoreless 90 and a scoreless extra time.
That's pain.
Speaking of pain, this pain of losing the finals propelled them to an amazing 2017 campaign. They won their sixth Canadian championship. They won the Supporter Shield, setting a new league record of points with 69. Nice.
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 And then they would dominate the playoffs to match up again with the Sounders in the final for the MLS Cup. This time, though, they defeated them 2-0 at home to complete the domestic treble, as well as being the first Canadian team to win the MLS. Literally, right after that year, it all really goes downhill for them. They haven't had any of the successes of the 2015 of the 2017 years. They have had some incredible players come through with the likes of Lorenzo Insigne, Domenico Crisquito, Bernadeschi, Canadian internationals, Daniil Henry, Mark Anthony Kaye, and Richie Larea. And this is when I turn on a Toronto game. Who am I going to see for the historic Canadian side, Ethan?
Well, Jacob, I am so glad you asked because you mentioned one of them already. When they need a goal in 2025, this is absolutely one of the men that they will be turning to, Mr. Federico Bernardeschi.
Bernadeschi.
That was good.
73 games played, 72 games started. All right. Talk about consistency. That is genuinely unreal availability for your side. In his 73 games played, he's racked up 21 goals and 15 assists. In his past at Juventus, he was a baller. He is widely considered to be one of the league's elite players. And hey, we've seen, some on his day, okay, electric, top of the league. On when he's off, it's rough, all right. But
Yeah.
that's the story of the MLS, all right. I think Bernadeschi's most questionable quality is probably his haircut last season. All right. But from what I've seen in the offseason, he has really reeled it in. It's much more traditional. I think that is where he will want the attention to be next season is focused on his game. Moving into another Italian man on their roster, Lorenzo Insigne. Just a few less games, 54 games played, but 46 games started. And this time, 14 goals, 14 assists. He recently rejected an offer from the Spanish club Valladolid. I hope I pronounced that right. Valladolid. Either way, their man is staying around. Insigne is electric for them. Talk about some electric Italians in the side. I almost forgot about Sebastian Giovinco heritage
How
up in
could you?
Toronto.
Yeah, for real.
Moving from the front to the back, I want to show Sean Johnson some love. All right. This man has a MLS career that could drive a car. 16 years in the MLS, 400 matches played. Iron Man, 400 matches played. If I'm being honest, guys, I couldn't tell you anything that I've done 400 times, really.
He has
All
the
right.
shoulders to do it, though. That man has the broadest shoulders in the MLS. He's a big boy.
He he is a feature in the MLS playoffs as well. 7 times this man has made it to the playoffs in his 16-year career. Very, very good goalkeeper between the sticks for Toronto FC. Now, this is a player that I think slightly an unsung hero. Every side has one, every team needs one. Jonathan Osorio. He's been with the club since 2013. I believe he came up through their academy. He's made 302 appearances with the club. That is absurd to be with one soccer team for 12 years in this day and age. He's a club legend, essentially. Build him a statue. All right. He has 302 appearances, 249 starts. So next season, he will be making his 250th start with the club, 48 goals, 52 assists. Hats off. That is a storied career for the man Osorio. Now, this is kind of a fun one that I wanted to pick out. Matty Longstaff. All right. He joined from Newcastle, where he played with his twin brother, Sean. He's a regular in the midfield for them. I believe he started every game but one last season. He's he's performed. All right, he's not designated player level, but he's a mainstay in their team. Speaking of mainstays in their team, a few mainstay defenders that I definitely want to show some love. A center back, Raul Petetra. I hope I'm saying him right. And as a former fullback, gotta show love to the fullback union. Nick Sean Gomes, the French defender. That those are the players on their team, gentlemen. But I have one more notable person who is actually going to be on the sideline next season for Toronto FC. They brought in their new coach, Mr. Robin Fraser, and I thought that this was a notable pickup because the man has 17 years of MLS coaching experience. All right, so he's been coaching in the league for as long as Sean Johnson has been playing in the league. That's a long time. He's won the cup 2 times as a coach, 2 times Supporter Shield winner as a coach, MLS Coach of the Year runner up, and is considered to be a top 25 MLS player of all time. All right. So
Wow.
this
Damn.
is the kind of tenure and pedigree that Toronto was like, all right, we have the squad. We have a great spine here. Regulars like Osorio, who have been with the squad forever, it seems like. And now we're bringing in the coaching pedigree to do it. Robin Fraser, I think, is the man at the helm that will take Toronto to that next level. But as we're thinking about next season, Grayson, why don't we talk about that a little more?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hop right into Toronto's 2025 MLS predictions. And we're back with another game of Crossbar
Oh
for you
yeah.
guys to play today. So, a couple seasons ago, the MLS saw Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi joining Toronto, and the league feared for their lives. The memories of Sebastian Giovinco dancing through defenses left a mark on defenses everywhere. But in my opinion, and the opinion of many other people around the league, the arrival of this second generation of Italians was pretty anticlimactic compared to Sebastian Giovinco's instant takeover of the league. Last season, the Italian boys combined for 16 goals and 11 assists. That's only 27 goal contributions. That's not bad, but it's not what we're expecting from players who have taken over Juventus and Napoli in the Serie A. They have been slowly trending upwards, but at the same time, they're also aging. Gentlemen, the crossbar is set at 27 goal contributions again. How many do they get next season? Are we skying it or are we burying it? Jacob, let's go. Let's hear it.
Yeah, call on me. I think I'm skying it. They had a lot of interpersonal issues last year between club, coach, and player. And with a new regime coming in at head coach, I think it's going to gel a lot better, and we're going to see a resurgence of the heyday of Toronto FC. I'm expecting a lot bigger things from both player and team alike. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to sky it around like a 35-40 goal contributions between the two of them.
Wow, that is a
That's
strong endorsement,
crazy.
Jacob. I don't know if I'm gonna go near that range, but I will take the over on the crossbar just because for all the same reasons that you just mentioned, Jacob. I couldn't have said it better myself. I truly believe that Robin Fraser is the man to put this side together and put the pieces where they need to be.
I'm actually going to disagree with both of you. I'm going to take the under.
Somebody had to.
I, as I alluded to in my introduction, I was very disappointed by both of these players, Insigne and Bernadeschi. Bernadeschi, not as much. They've actually been pretty good, or he's actually been pretty good. But specifically, Lorenzo Insigne was one of the most electric wingers I've watched play. And as soon as I saw him play in the MLS, shadows of a former self, hopefully we could see him kind of resurrect his career. But at this point, I think he'll just continue being solid, but I don't think he'll reach the levels that he used to be. Well, that's just my opinion. Next question. Toronto sat extremely close to St. Louis in a ton of stats, specifically including their disciplinary issues. Toronto FC led the league in yellows with 92.
Damn.
Yeah. And get this, they sat in third place for red cards with six total red cards. Federico Bernardeschi had three of those. What?
Probably
Rob,
not the
yeah.
contributions they want
Yeah,
from their star striker.
not great, not great. So Robin Fraser's back at the helm. Not much has changed for Toronto in the offseason. The crossbar set at 85 for yellows. This is a two-parter. 85 yellows over and under. Or how many reds for Bernadeschi over under two?
Hmm. I'm gonna take the over on yellow cards. Let's see if we can make it around 100, guys. Come on, Toronto. I know you want to. And I will also take the over on Bernadeschi red cards because if I'm being honest, if I were a Toronto fan, I would kind of want to see that. I kind of want to see an attacking player that gets into the defense in like kind of a mean and nasty way a little bit. Granted, playing short a player is less helpful when you're trying to win games, but I'm taking the over for Bernadeschi.
I agree with you on half of it. I think they're gonna over on the team total yellow cards. That doesn't feel like something that gets fixed in 1 year as far as a team.
Hmm.
But I think Bernadeschi understands the position he's in and the fact that if they're gonna be successful, he's got to be on the field. So I'm gonna take the under on Bernadeschi red cards.
I will say Bernadeschi has been utilized in a lot of strange positions last year. He did end up playing a lot of right wing back,
Wild.
which definitely put him in a lot of dangerous positions where, you know, also if you're having a frustrating season and you're an attacker who's played overseas, I'm sure playing right wing back in the MLS and not doing very good, it's going to result in a lot of high energy, emotional situations where you're just flying into challenges left and right. I think I'm taking the under for yellows. I think that's an absurd amount of yellows. 92 league leading is crazy. I think they're gonna have to reflect a little bit, maybe take some anger management classes. And I think Robin Fraser is really gonna bring that calming edge to the squad, chill them out. And I don't think Bernadeschi gets three reds again this year, maybe four. I'm taking the over.
Wow.
But yeah, that is the crossbar games I have for you guys today. Last question. Where does Robin Fraser take Toronto FC? Does he take them to the promised land competing for the MLS Cup? Does he take them to playoffs? Does he take them just outside in the bubble or back to the bin in the bottom of the table?
I'm gonna predict a Canadian championship in their Canadian competition. I'm gonna say they are a playoff team, but not winning the championship just yet. I think they've got a little bit more rebuilding and bolstering of the ranks to do before they take home the coveted MLS Cup.
I'm right there with you, Jake. I don't think they're contending just yet, but I mean, hell, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Toronto in the second round of the playoffs next season. I feel that they maybe the new coach bump as St. Louis City fans, maybe we're just a little optimistic about that, but I get the sense that Toronto will improve enough to get into the playoffs.
You guys are a lot higher on Toronto than I am. I think they're a bubble team at best. At
Wow.
best, they're a bubble team. But think that wraps up our City Boys spotlight for the Toronto FC. Jacob, you got a note?
Little note, somewhat have a favorable start to their season. They kick it off with DC United, and then they're playing Orlando, and then Cincinnati, and then Chicago. So they might
Hmm.
might be a little scrappy to start the season. A couple of those are going to be it's going to be a dogfight out there as not Matt Sheldon. Why am I blanking on his name? Jesus Christ, there's a clip of it. Anyways, it's going to be a dogfight out there. I would not be surprised if Toronto starts slow and ends the season hot though. But
Hmm.
that's all I've really got on Toronto.
Interesting. My feeling about Toronto is that they are going to be the team that you expect to go in and beat, or you expect to like take care of business, and then they go in with a winning mentality. So that's what I'm expecting from Toronto to get them over the edge, Grayson. I'm expecting a winning mentality. You don't bring in a two-time MLS Cup champion coach without the same aspirations of doing exactly that. So that's why I'm a little high on Toronto FC. I think that they have made the right moves to put themselves in a position to succeed.
All right. We'll see. We'll tally up predictions at the end of the year and see who is right. But yeah, Toronto fans, please sound off in the comments below. Tell us who's wrong. Tell us who's right. Give us your predictions. How many reds is Bernadeschi going to get this year? And yeah, I think that is all from the episode today. So thanks for watching. Jacob, do you want to close the episode? I'm not ready to do the outro yet.
Yeah, I can rip the outro, brother. If you have been watching on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed, like, and comment. If you've been listening on Spotify, make sure you follow, rate 5 stars, also comment on Spotify now. That's a thing. And most importantly, our number one call to action on this podcast show, whatever you want to call it, do not forget to tell your mother you love her. Peace. MLS.
MLS. MLS.
MLS.